Here's what I'll say about having so much of our opinions and thoughts and annoyances on camera all the time is that when one of us inevitably dies, probably one of you.
Inevitably?
Yeah. Well,
you're a specimen, so we're definitely.
I am.
That's true.
Listen, God has had to handicap me in a body because of my brilliance.
Your brain will live on.
I'll just prop myself out and go into a new body. That's all right. But no, you know what? I think we'll be thankful to just be able to be like, how are we going to remember Nathan? And we just throw on Nathan on the fucking TV for 15 hours straight.
Honestly. Or just this little sheet that's like, oh, Nathan really loved Mallrats.
We're gonna... I missed me Nathan's scores.
Just a nice eulogy of your top 10 movies.
Yeah. I think it'll be hilarious if we're like, even if we have like a sudden like strike death, we'll be at a funeral and the idea of having effing podcast footage played because that's like the footage we have most recently of any of us.
Yeah, and everybody crying like mourning us and hearing like
we're talking about dongs
and hearing Dylan screech like fuck every 5 minutes.
It's not that bad. Kelly Senior like every time. Wherever she is, I just assume it just kind of hits her that way.
Well, you did it within the first 5 minutes of the last podcast. You're not supposed to do that.
I know, demonetized. Yeah. We can't put the ads on that one. Sorry, guys.
We haven't had an ad on one video.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think we have 100 views on one of our videos.
So there's a certain criteria you have to meet to be advertisable, and we're not there yet. There's like an amount of view time total, and then a number of subscribers.
Right. Yeah.
So we're a long ways away, boys.
Yeah. It's more the problem is people need to watch our content. They can't just like it and be supporting. They have to watch it.
Which I mean, as far as that goes, we're kind of even. As far as like our progress on both bars.
We're here on both bars, so we're getting there though.
Hey, it's a growing.
We're on the board.
We're on the board though.
Maybe we can afford a bicycle one day.
For what?
The tech bicycle. It's one of those,
So instead of doing the wheel, we'll just have like them on the bicycle, and you'll just pedal it for a little bit.
Oh yeah. I mean, see,
you viewers bought this.
Here's the funny thing, right? Even as a con is like, even if we run ads, we only get paid for how many people watch those ads. So it's not like we could just, how like some YouTubers will like burst their like, things. They'll have people come in and they'll watch and they'll like and they'll comment to get the algorithms going.
Yeah.
And they'll watch enough just to get them to be like ad appropriate. But even when they do that, then they just drop off and then they make no money because nobody's fucking watching their videos.
Yeah.
People actually gotta like the videos. So, but we like the videos and we like talking about movies. Welcome to the Effin' Movie Podcast. We're your hosts, Mason, Price, Dylan, and Nathan. Actually, in that order.
You could all hit me at the end of the video.
I was trying to get your phone, not you.
Oh, I was putting it away.
Sorry. Well.
I'm a good noodle.
On today's episode, we have a very special and not rigged at all spin of Gladiator. And first of all, there's a little story before how we got to Gladiator. Price, how did we get to Gladiator?
Well, apparently this has happened before. I don't remember it, but I thought this was the first time where I somehow forgot that we were meeting that day, and I didn't have time to watch Eternal.
Sunshine.
That's right.
I can't even say the name of it because I didn't even watch it.
Yeah.
And I showed up here and everybody was ready to talk about it, and I wasn't. So we've already said that one of the punishments for
missing a
movie is taking one of your movie picks, and I had to choose between taking off Everything Everywhere All at Once, Parasite, or Billy Madison, and I chose, in honor of the way I'm wearing this hat, I chose Billy Madison.
Miss Vaughn?
Yeah, Miss Veronica Vaughn was in a movie we watched.
Yeah, she was in the House of the...
House on Haunted Hill. So we kind of watched Billy Madison.
Oh, yeah, basically.
So instead, we got something very similar to Billy Madison, which is Gladiator, which is Dylan's fourth pick for the wheel.
Yes, I am in the bountiful joys of Price's negligence.
That makes one of us.
I got two movies.
Gladiator. You know what?
To be fair, two great movies.
Two good movies, though. Yeah.
Everybody did like those, and Billy Madison would be a lot more controversial. So I'm good with it. I mean, controversials and like varying scores.
Well, too bad we didn't watch it. Anyway, so yeah, maybe next season. Probably next season. Unless he misses a movie again. Anyway, Gladiator. The premise of this movie, we got Maximus. He is the general over the Roman. Rome. Yeah, I had to double
think.
think.
In this movie are gonna drive me insane.
Okay, listen. There's pretty much 3 names. There's
Joaquin Phoenix.
There's Maximus. There's Caesar Jr.
Russell
which is
Crowe.
Joaquin. Yeah. And
that's it.
And that's pretty much it.
And stepsister.
And
stepsister. She's not a stepsister, but that's what I'm referring to.
I would give Proximo. I'd give Proximo deserves some spec on his name because he's the same. Anyway, so we'll break it down.
You mean Prompto?
Prompto. No, that's not Pokemon. That's Final Fantasy. Shut up, Bryce. So anyway, Maximus is the general leader of Rome. They recently just conquered Germania, and the original Caesar at the time comes in, and he's like, "Wow, you did a great job. I'm old. I'm gonna die." So my pitch is that I'm gonna let you take over because my son pretty untrustworthy. That probably won't have anything to do with the plot later, and
or an HBO series about 20 years from now.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Game of Thrones.
Oh,
yeah.
Very
I
Robert.
thought you meant there was like a TV prequel.
No. So Caesar Senior is like, okay, I want to give it to you, but I want you to give it back to the people. I want it to go into the Senate.
Caesar Senior, Marcus Aurelius.
Yes. Thank you. And then Marcus Aurelius Jr. He's Caesar Jr.
He's Caesar Jr.
What was it?
Commodus.
Yeah, that's right. He rolls in.
Phoenix.
Joaquin Phoenix.
Caesar Jr.
And he catches on, and he's pretty bitter about this whole thing because he wants to just be, recognized by his dad, and by him not being recognized.
Well, I think he realizes the moment that it's like, okay, either I kill him now, or word gets out that he doesn't want me to be the next Caesar.
So he hugs him to death.
As you can just do
with old people. Well, he was already very close on his death.
Yeah,
so
he was a very old man. I presume that.
Yeah, and actually, I kind of think that's poetic, but I'll get more into that later. Anyway, so he hugs him to death. He comes out. The soldiers turn very quick on. Well, he gets a section of soldiers who recognize him as new Caesar, and turn on Maximus very quickly. He gets sent out to be killed. He Russell Crowe's them, and then he gets put into a slave trade. Gladiator ensues. And from there...
His family dies after he gets out. Dylan skipped that part.
Important side note.
The Punisher plot comes along, and he turns into the Punisher, not the Gladiator.
And then he passes out, basically, and becomes a slave, and Dylan continues.
I mean, listen, that's enough to already be mad and want to go Gladiator him, but, he does kill his family, too. So, yeah, now he's also the Punisher, which... It's fine because it plays really well.
Literally the same.
It's hey, you know what?
This movie was first though.
Then it came out first, so allow it to do that.
It did.
All right, end point. Anyway, Russell Crowe's super jacked in this movie, so that's super cool.
He looks good.
And he's fighting well and doing all that, so hijinks ensue. Really quickly, not necessarily as a plot recap, but just kind of things I like about it. I did like that when Joaquin Phoenix is death hugging his dad. I think that's kind of that's a good way to kill him. I think it's very much like I'm killing you literally with love in the way that I did not connect with you on this way, but I am proving my fate in saying that I'm kind of a dick, and I probably shouldn't be entrusted with this power, but I'm taking it anyway because that's just the character he is. I think it's very symbolic of the whole character in itself.
He is a true evil character through and through.
Yes.
And he is meant to be hated.
Yeah.
And you do hate him.
Yes.
Through this entire film.
I do want to start at the top of this movie, which is the big battle scene. It starts off with
in Germania
with a heck of a bang with them fighting off the Germania barbarian tribe there, and man, I think this movie does what the other Ridley Scott movie we watched,
Kingdom of Heaven.
Kingdom of Heaven. I think this movie does Ridley Scott better than that movie does by a long shot.
Yeah,
the production of everything on this is phenomenal, and it was really fun to watch.
The scale is huge, and I appreciate this opens making Romans feel very contemporary because they are acting and talking in the ways that you would expect a modern modern people to be that are dealing with just people that are technologically very much inferior and under them, and this is just
They were coming out of there with rocks.
Yeah.
They were coming out of the woods.
Very much just this is what the U.S. military looks like versus people
Nicaragua.
In the Middle East, in those conflicts kind of thing, where it's just a professional army going against
rebels.
Rebels.
Right. Yeah.
So I really liked that perspective, and it just made it. It made to me it makes you connect more with Romans in general, and just being able to see the parallels between Roman Empire and like modern day Empire.
Yeah.
My only issue with that very first scene, it was really, really good, except they didn't. The camera work, I don't know if you guys saw. This was like my main qualm of the movie. The camera work had the good guys, the Romans, coming from both sides, and it made it look like there were 3 parties involved.
Right.
Because they had like the big battalion coming from the left, as you would. Then it had like the forest
Germanian
people
barbarians, right.
come through the woods from the right, and then they had not Gerard Butler, Russell Crowe's
Yeah.
Cavalry.
small cavalry,
Yeah.
like also coming from the right. And I was just like, man, like I understand like what a pincer move is, or like kind of like bombarding,
Yeah.
but like it honestly made it really confusing. I don't know.
And the way
They could have done it from another angle.
And
Right.
the way the camera was used as well was awful. There was
It
so
was
much
a
shaky
lot.
cam used in it.
Yeah.
And the number one thing I hated about this movie, it happened in this first 30 minutes, which is a long scene, with something happened in production to where they somehow lost frames when they were shooting. And I mean like video game. Like they somehow dropped frames per second in the shooting. And that's when...
Oh, there are times where it's just like
there's
this weird...
times where like they slow
it's, like,
down the
almost
frames,
slow-mo-y.
and
Yeah.
it aggravated me to no end.
Yeah.
Like it was so awful to watch, and it's so bad.
Yeah, I agree. A lot of the
Oh,
opening of this
so bad.
movie, though, like there's things I like about it. I think it is a very
Technically.
weak start, and it like kind of sets up a shaky foundation that I think it ends up recovering from.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that I remember thinking the same thing. It has an annoying, like, shake slow. Whoa.
Well, I feel like was the music also during this kind of like weirdly slow too, or am I just misremembering?
I don't recall the music too much.
I don't either. I don't recall the music in this movie very much.
I do remember the score on the tail end of the movie, especially when they're raiding. We're leaping ahead a little bit in plot. We'll come back. We're raiding Proximo's thing right before like the very end, and the score comes in, and it is very similar sounding to Pirates of the Caribbean score.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, because
I remember that.
It's
Yeah.
all
Hans Zimmer.
Zimmer. But I remember thinking like, wow, Zimmer, you didn't get too far off the path when you were making Pirates, huh? Like,
Well, Pirates was probably made shortly after this, correct?
yeah,
Or
I
right
mean,
at the same
probably
time.
around 2003, 2004. Or
'Cause this was
something.
2000.
Yeah, so this is probably like his very next project, so to speak, which makes sense. You could tell that he was definitely in a mood. But to be fair, it's a banger score though. Like
It's pretty good.
it still lands on this one, in my opinion. Don't go playing it on your
So
phone.
was Prompto, whatever his name was?
Proximo.
Proximo.
Was that the guy who was like the Gladiators, like?
Yeah, he was like their mentor
principal?
dude.
Yeah.
He was the guy who was
Okay.
like buying the slaves.
and
then was
he weirdly, and to me this seems like such a conflict of character, but I guess it's just like, I don't know, it's like, what else are you gonna do? He was a gladiator who had gotten himself free and decided to turn around and sort of
enslave
put
other
people
people to be
in-
gladiators,
exactly the
right?
same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine that was probably fairly common because, it's like, it's
That's-
your profession
right.
that way, and, like, you could...
This is just
Get
what
more
management
around.
looks like in
Yeah.
Gladiatorness, right?
Yeah.
Like you go from Walmart on the floor to working the slave.
Yeah, so,
right,
so you're working in the pits, like, down at, like, the register at Walmart trying to work your way up
Right.
Exactly,
the
yeah.
hierarchy.
He really is Pit Daddy in that
Pit
way
Daddy.
with it.
Gladiator, me daddy.
Yeah, I mean, so I think that plays pretty well though to the character because he comes off as kind of like this hard ass slave owner, effectively speaking, but he does play a little bit of sympathy and even wanting to be a hero.
It gives him like
Motivation
the
to
like
switch.
the motivation to actually make a character switch and like
Yeah.
come around to being on their side.
Right, because he sees the impact of like, oh, this guy could fucking make a difference. Like,
You know what the best transition of any character was? Joaquin Phoenix, whenever he was like a little baby bitch, to like after he was like in charge for a while, he went through that awesome emo phase. He looked sick.
yeah,
Like
Yeah.
he had basically like black and like he actually wore like black clothes. I love the way he looked in the second half of this movie.
Yeah.
Or the
Oh yeah,
last
his
2/3.
his costume like at the end was
the full
awesome.
white like armor
Yeah.
thing is
Yeah.
like so sick looking. It feels very like Black Parade and his like
Yeah.
stance with it. To be honest,
I'm saying it's not a phase.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
that's all
yeah.
I could see every time I
Yeah.
saw him.
So I want to talk a little bit about Joaquin Caesar.
Caesar.
Yeah. Yes. So
Commodus.
Commodus is an exceptional bad guy, in my opinion. I think he, is he somebody that sits there and he's like engaging like the Joker? Yeah, haha, I know he plays Joker later. Anyway, is he like that incredibly? No, but he's easily despisable, and I like that about a character right away.
That's the makings of a good villain in a movie. Is somebody that you actually hate and that you very much want to see get what's coming to him.
You loathe him very quickly, and he immediately has a great like dynamic with the hero, like the hero of the story with
and
it.
they do a really good job each time that they show him. Like basically the tensions get higher and higher because like the first time that he sees Maximus, after the bad stuff happens, was like in the middle of this
huge event,
10,000 people arena, and then like the time after that was like in the middle of the town or something, and it. Well, like each time that he wanted to take care of him, like he
was restrained by his role. Like,
in some ways, but there was also like I feel like this movie does a good job of not letting just like one side be doing stuff. Mm-hmm. So like you've got your good guy group trying to secretly sneak around and like basically depose Commodus, but Commodus is still also doing his own thing, and like making his own decisions and getting more and more rash at the same time.
Yeah,
so there's not like. You think like, oh, their plan's gonna work out, but it's like, no, he's also still doing stuff. Like he's not just gonna sit there and let things happen, and that's I think that's good because like so many stories will just be like, oh, it's just the hero doing their thing, but it's like, what's the villain doing? The villain's not gonna ignore this.
Yes, and I'll say so. Quick note. Me and Nathan, I guess, had watched the extended cuts. So we got a little bit extra scenes and stuff like that. And I will say that after looking at because Price pulled up like what scenes they were, and there's only one scene that I feel like really not necessarily changes the movie in any particular way, just adds more to a character, and adds a little bit more context. But I just loved overall not so much like the political banter between the two, but like behind the scenes where they would just make little comments about like what was really going on. And one of the senators was like, "How are they paying for all of this?" And they're just like, "Oh, we're selling all the wheat reserves." Like, we've got maybe 2 more years of food left after this. And it was like little comments like that. And I don't know if you guys picked up on that or if that was even in the OG cut, the theatrical cut. But in the extended cut, there's one little like scene where they say that.
Because there's the whole thing where he's talking to like his right-hand man, Commodus is, and is saying like, I went to the Senate today and I told them that I've been selling the grain to pay for all of this. And none of them even batted their eye. And that's when he knew, like, somebody is leaking what I'm doing.
Right.
And which is why he got so critical of his sister after.
And I think those little small nods that let him be a competent bad guy, too, because I think that's so important as well. It's one thing for it to always just be the heroes are just like, we just got to go find the crack in the armor. And then they just go do it, and it works. This one was very much like, we got to go find the crack in the armor. Now it's over here. Now we can't actually do anything because he's onto us.
And he's also welded that crack, and now it's a lot harder.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of fun cat and mouse with that one.
Also, there's like 158 days.
Yeah, this is the plan for this festival is a lot.
Yeah.
All right, so from January into August, we're fucking partying. Effectively is what he said, and people were like,
"Summer,
hell yeah, dude, that sounds sick." And to be fair, if like Biden came in the office and it was just like,
let's have a
Super Bowl
day.
every day.
I mean, balloon toss and egg races.
That kind of goes to a much bigger thing of like just how people used to spend time differently.
Yes.
Because like if you actually look historically, humans didn't work as hard as we work these days.
No.
Like you would go and like do your harvest every year, but you had way more free time back even in the medieval era than you do today.
They also didn't have video games back then.
Yeah, like that,
and I need people to churn those out.
Like there are obvious benefits to the fact that we work so much harder, but that's why it's like it's not crazy that they could have so much bread and circus going on all the time because
that's all they did.
It's really like that was feasible.
Right.
Or maybe they have probably 158 days normally permitted per year for that. It's just not all one day after the other the other.
Like this is their PTO and they just burst this.
Like every Tuesday and Friday we go down to the community, and
maybe somebody puts on a play. Maybe does that. No, we're getting murder people, lions, Bengal tigers. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the action as well on this one, and then we'll probably just kind of see where the conversation takes us, or just fades off. The action's sick. I think the action still holds up really well, in my opinion.
Everything that's not the first scene.
Other than, because I have that shot, and even still, the action in that's fine. Like, I'll say it's fine.
Shaky cam
but it's
gets
shot,
on my nerves.
well, the action's fine, it's shot poorly. Like,
But the camera is what you see, and what I see is this.
I'm with you.
And
I'm with you.
slow.
But so for the rest of the thing, though, they definitely get away from trying to do that.
All the gladiatorial combat.
Yeah, all the gladiatorial
combat is
like
awesome.
the scenes with the chariots.
Yeah,
are the ones in particular that stand out.
Chops that one girl in half. She was like, ah!
Yeah, just a clean cut through. That part's sick. The fight where he fights the old retired gladiator, I'm just like, as an anime geek, I'm just like, fuck yeah, bring out Captain
So the whole chariot thing's also funny because they're like, oh, this is going to be the Battle of Carthage versus the different regiment of Rome. And
I could have swore that Carthage didn't win that battle or whatever. Well, you gotta have surprises in there, but. And actually getting to see Russell Crowe being like a general and lead these gladiators into like a place or whatever.
Well, and he picks so like wisely when he wants to basically say like, I'm a fucking dude. Let me have the reins. Like, whenever he first gets introduced to Joaquin Phoenix's character in the middle of that gladiator, he's like, I am Maximus blah blah blah, leader of the yada yada, and he just spills his entire title after probably 5 years. I don't know how long.
I mean, he was like seconds away from killing him right then. He thought that, like, I imagine in that moment his character's meant to be thinking like, okay, if they're about to kill me, I'm gonna kill Commodus.
I need to. Yeah.
He was going to, but he was going to kill him. But he saw the nephew. I'm like, that's not even his kid.
I like to think on the other level too, though. It's for him having to think because he's obviously playing the political game throughout the. I mean, again, he says all that because it's just like if people don't recognize me, and that's fair. I mean,
then I'm dead.
I recognize our generals, so he's like, I need to keep me alive somehow. But also to this point, right? If he kills him right there in this moment. The story of like leadership now, is it really going to pass to the Senate right away just as he dies? Like, because again, the army could be like, well, he was a traitor and now he's killed our king, so we're going to maintain this like, military order now.
It's not good. If
Whereas by the end of this movie, we have whatever general, you guys remember that name earlier? Quintus. Yeah, so Quintus, who betrays him earlier on, but then sees kind of like the maliciousness of Caesar Jr., Commodus, and I'm getting there, with Commodus, and then he's just like, oh, Commodus says, give me a sword! And then don't do it, boys. Let's just let this one play out. And that's more meaningful, because now the crowd's turned. And that also
goes back to the whole thing, too, of the Praetorian Guard were very much like, they decided whether the Caesar would live or die.
Yes, yeah.
I like this thing, too.
Yeah, honestly, and it's one of those.
That's a very famous thing.
I've heard of that. Yeah, that's like.
I think it's doubly famous for just being historically wrong too, because it's historically supposed to be the other way. I think if the like.
Kill him.
Yeah, kill him is supposed to be like, fuck yeah.
There were more blood.
Yeah,
whereas blood. It's not blood. Yeah.
Nah, don't do it, man.
Yeah.
He's pretty cool. He's like a retired. I don't want to kill him.
Wait, I saw the movie, so I'm gonna chop his head off.
Oh God! And Nathan, to counteract that, like, this is friendly for Mason to watch. I know what this means.
Yeah.
But if you're starting to do this, I'm like, oh God.
Yeah.
He's fucking dead.
Right.
Yeah. So this makes more sense.
This is no.
Yeah.
This is don't do it. But anyway, so this movie's fun. It has a lot of fun historical stuff. This is like a better ending to Game of Thrones.
Too long though.
It is so long.
It's long. It could be longer.
It could be.
You had 15
Excalibur
minutes.
long. It could be. But I do think that.
But it'd be worse for that.
I don't know.
I didn't feel the length of this movie.
I actually on this one,
even the long cut.
Yeah.
How long was
it? Didn't feel like
it was on about 15-20 minutes more. Like,
okay,
give
about 3 hours then, roughly.
Yeah, it's right around 3 hours.
I definitely felt it. Even though the gladiator fighting and stuff is fun, there are too many scenes of that, and I get that each one kind of progresses the story, but there's just too many. It's too long. People talk too much. I feel like 45 minutes could have been shaved off this movie with easily 15 minutes coming from the first scene.
You know what, like, the boldest line of that whole movie was, though? Was, like, when Caesar Sr. was talking to Commodus, and he was like, look, you're not going to like this decision, but I really want Russell Crowe in this spot. I'm really sorry. I love you as a son, but he's more ready than you. Like, why are you telling him all this
Bro,
in an empty chamber.
you've already said that you don't trust this guy. At least have some homies with you.
You need a crowd around you.
Yeah.
But-
I mean,
But he didn't want to embarrass
could
him.
you really
and set him
imagine
on
that your
fire.
kid would just kill you?
Right. I mean, that's fair. You know, he's like.
And I will say, Joaquin Phoenix at that point had zero backbone. Like he was
Right.
so like,
Soy Boy
oops,
Panda
did I
cooks
miss the
himself.
fight? Good to see you again. Yeah, I know it's been forever. Like he was so like happy-go-lucky. You would not expect that he would kill him. You're right.
Right. And I mean, also he's a very kind king. He did not want to hurt his son. And you know, if you put it in front of other people, he probably felt that would be like an embarrassment or disrespectful to him as well. Which again, his kindness killed him in the end because he did let his guard down around the person
And
he
he got
knew not to
hugged.
trust. He got hugged to death. But I think we're already kind of on a good train to sit there and transition to Fat, Thin, Perfectly Fit. Bryce, you've already kind of given your critique on Fat, Thin, Perfectly Fit. You think it's fat?
Yep.
Okay, good. Mason, over to you, and then we'll kind of carry on.
If I had to pick which scenes were fat, I don't know what it was, but every scene that was in like a chamber seemed a little bit too much. Like, and even though it would have Joaquin Phoenix having some pretty okay monologue or dialogue, depending on who he was talking to, like I didn't mind the dialogue. It was just those were the scenes that were too dark. Every scene that had like Russell Crowe like in the slave pit or outside like working or whatever,
Him looking yoked. And
dude, just stacked. Those were okay. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was just the darkness. But yeah, if I had to trim it up, it would be some of those, just a little bit of the dialogue from the inside. Like definitely Joaquin Phoenix's character. I loved his look. Didn't care much for the sister aspect. Like I get that
Stepsister.
Yeah.
Like
no, she's just.
they
a
needed
sister.
something, someone for him to blame and someone for him to like motivationally like not like. But I don't know. I
But
just,
also not be willing to just kill.
Right.
Yes.
You need somebody
someone
who's
close enough to where, like you said, you wouldn't want to just
who's
murder them.
untouchable.
I mean,
but
you say
he
that,
wants to put her
but
in.
I mean, he did also kill his father.
Yeah.
I want to
true.
know if while they were filming this, if she actually could cry like that, because like he would be like, "Am I not merciful?" And then like a single tear like would
Like,
come out of her eye.
straight
Like,
up,
how in
yeah.
the world does she do that?
You don't just cry from one eye?
No, she just made herself cry like
I know.
that.
Yeah, no.
like it was.
I'm sure that's
Pretty
probably,
wild.
That's gotta be an actor's talent, if not just making.
It has to be, but still,
It's a
it still
fluffer
was
talent.
impressive.
Yeah, it is.
It still was impressive, but yeah, I agree with Mason. She got too much screen time, even though she is important.
Yeah.
She is. But
She's important, but there's a
Sorry.
question of like, is she that important? Like, could she be cuttable? On your note, Mason, I think that she's a character who I feel like brings the least to the table. I think even the senators, there's like one or two kind of, and
There's really two: the
There's
good
two.
senator and the bad senator.
Right.
The guy with the eyebrows that was like fucking.
Oh, the
attacking
thick
people.
eyebrow. Yeah.
They look like a goat.
I think she
Which
brings
you don't
the,
have.
I don't have those.
I think she brings the least to the table. I mean, even like we haven't even mentioned his name. Dijon Hansa or whatever is the sweet side partner from
John
Never Back
Roca.
John Roca himself
Yeah,
is
that's
literally
in my
fighting
notes.
the
I was gonna
Gladiator.
mention it.
Yeah, John Roca.
It's
Dijon
like his
Hansa.
main like
It's
slave
the main
buddy.
yoked black slave buddy who's in the crew with him.
I don't know
Well,
who you're talking
there's
about.
also the German guy.
Yeah, there's the
Although
big
he doesn't
German
get
buddy.
any-
But then there's
Oh,
the
I'm
black
sorry.
guy.
His best friend. guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no, I recognize him
Post-slavery,
immediately.
yeah.
Right. And he's always yoked, but no, I think even
Did you hear that joke?
no, I didn't.
He says it never back down post slavery.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's probably the best joke that's been on this podcast.
I said post-slavery and then Gladiator.
I know. Of course, it's past all that.
Oh yeah.
So I watched the extended cut. This movie's maybe a little chubby with that in mind. I don't know how much I love this sister as this torturable character that feels a little unkillable, but she's always teetering the line. I don't really know if I love her as this weird pseudo love interest for Gladiator because his wife just died, so it feels like she's always just this mystique history one with him. I don't know if it brings it more enough to really validate her character. If you said that you deleted this character from this movie, I'd probably still be okay with it. I think it still holds up just as well in my opinion. Give Quintus those scenes because Quintus's extended cut scenes were really good.
I wish Quintus would have had more characterization. It would have helped him saying like, "Don't give him your swords." Like that would have meant a lot more.
The extended cut scene definitely puts it a lot more in perspective.
I don't think this movie's bad.
Yeah.
Of course you don't,
Yeah.
Nathan.
I could watch 3 more hours.
Like I did not see how much time was left running on it at any point. There's no scenes that really stick out as needing to be cut down. I really like the just kind of, I like this movie. It's just historically interesting. Like, I mean, it's fictitious, but it feels like this is this could have been Rome, very much. So yeah, I don't know. I like all the time that you spend in this world. I like all the locations, like even just some of the scenes where they're like, you know, in these rooms that are just massive colonnades everywhere. Like, as those scenes are going on and they're talking and stuff, I'm just sitting there thinking, like, what would it have been like for that to just have been a space that you would just, like, hang out and talk to your sister in? Like, just, that's your house? Just massive columns that are, like, you know, 5 stories tall?
I had a few of those in Skyrim.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not really anything I would pick out of this. I don't think I'd add anything to it, though.
I have a fun trivia fact. The CGI birds that you see going around the Coliseum. Yeah, they're the same ones from Birdemic, actually.
Yeah, that I don't know if that's true.
Yeah.
But actually, those
We're
birds.
gonna check on that later.
Those birds do
Why
look
would
pretty No, they definitely are better than the Birdemic CG ones. But they're not that much better, though, to your credit, though. Those like the CGs, the little tiny bits of CG that gets bursted into this movie. I mean, whatever. It's like a 2000.
I
movie.
agree. It's
a 2000 movie.
so
We can't fault it for
negligible.
that, right?
Oh, and the tigers? Those were real tigers.
Yeah,
They
dude,
those
did look
actually
good.
were.
Russell Crowe actually
No, those were
killed
real tigers.
a real tiger.
Those weren't CGI. Those were real tigers.
They got trained so good.
That's insane.
Yeah, he hugged one and
Like-
killed one.
That's one thing I respect the hell out of Ridley Scott movies is that
It's like, no, I'm gonna use the real fucking tiger.
he gets a ton of money, but you see it on the screen.
Yeah,
like you see every dollar. There's so many movies that come out now where you're like that cost $200 million to make. Like how?
And it's like Black Panther in like an 8-bit like
Oh my
costume.
God.
Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
just so much of the money's wrapped up in CG, whereas
Right.
with these films,
It
it's
looks
just like
so good.
the scale is tremendous, and you can see exactly why it's such a huge budget film.
Right.
Which I really respect. It's really cool to watch. It
Yeah.
is a spectacle.
Just print more money, guys. I don't know what's so hard about this, but anyway,
I think it was like $100 million. I'm gonna look.
yeah, which is a shit ton of money still at that time and day.
Oh yeah, to make a movie.
Yeah. I mean, nowadays we wouldn't bat an eye at that. We'd be like, wow, that's a pretty cheap movie. But, getting into scores, I guess, would be. Or no question.
no
We got a question. So, the question is.
Just be right there.
If you were a gladiator in an arena, what's your weapon?
I have been in Gorn.
Yeah, that's true.
Sure.
What am I fighting against?
I mean, other humans.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll just say it's like
I want a bow.
a bow. Yeah, coward's way out.
I will.
Okay.
With that?
Yeah.
Damn. That's a big.
What about you?
It's a big
budget.
Weapon wise, I'm a sucker for a
100
spear.
million.
I mean, swords always feel great. You always
So
wanna
I would
them.
go similar to that.
Yeah.
I really like the Myrmidon kind of setup where you've got the net and the trident.
Oh, yeah,
like
yeah.
the whole like fisherman
Right.
thing.
It's a pretty sick
You're gonna
combo.
take a.
I mean,
Gotcha.
yeah, there was one of those, and also, I mean, you think that net's not dangerous? The net has fishing hooks in it.
Right, it's meant to cut into you. Listen, people get
Price
slow.
doing that is funny.
Yeah. All right, Price, the expert gladiator. What would you do?
Oh, I would go with a one-handed sword and pocket sand.
Pocket sand at all times. Cricket.
Like cricket.
You can't just cricket everybody in this gladiator.
You know, I take it back. I'd be the trash man.
Yeah. I just want a trash can.
Yeah.
But it has to be filled with lethal trash.
Yeah, of course.
Like heroin needles, all that stuff in the real trash man.
Right.
A sword and a fistful of sand.
Man, he gets a net. I'm gonna get some
Coral
sand.
snakes. We gotta put some of those in there.
You get an
Those we
RC
use.
car with just a little kitchen knife.
A battle
No,
bot.
on
yeah,
top
just
of
get
it.
a fucking
Yeah.
battle pot.
Right.
You're just sitting in the arena with your little controller.
Everyone doesn't know what the fuck
Yeah.
is going on.
They don't even know how
my-
to fight it. They just try to poke at it.
So fast.
Yeah.
It's like doing the flips
Yeah.
and everything.
You flip it over, it just flips itself back up. I'm like, why?
It just made it more angry.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
10 grown men or one little tiny battle bot.
It's like the 40 feral hogs. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
That whole discussion over.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, would you rather fight 40 feral hogs in there or
The whole-
8 hungry tigers?
Oh my god. No.
Hogs.
Because hogs will eat me clean.
Tigers
will
the
play
hogs
with me.
would work together.
So you
I
think
feel
you're
like the
losing in
tigers-
this scenario?
Tigers are gonna get me
Yeah,
no matter
I mean,
what.
dude, hogs. Have you ever seen a full blown fat like?
They're huge.
Dude,
been
they're
watching
fucking
Lost.
tanks. They're like a
Yeah.
boulder. 1,000-pound hog. I've seen one. They get big.
I've got one.
Yeah, I am a hog.
I got a feral hog.
No, I had some clients I used to work with who were hog owners. I'd go out to their house and they
Oh
had this
my
fucking
God.
huge hog.
They're
man.
huge.
No, so yeah, I mean, listen, you say hogs, I'm like, and 40 of them? No, I'm like, no, listen, the hogs will kill me and eat me outright. The tigers might play with me while I'm alive. You know, they might cut me open and they might like nibble.
That's a good point.
Yeah, nah, I want a quick death.
Sorry, now I'm getting into the would you fight 3 hogs?
Yeah, no, we're not hog-sized giraffes or giraffe-sized hogs.
That was the Gladiator movie after all.
Yeah. All right, so no more gladiatorial questions for the past. Let's get the scores. Mason, start us from the top, buddy.
This movie is pretty darn iconic. It's not a word I've tossed around lately, but
Yeah, it'll get slandered in a bracket, though.
I
That's
know
a bad
it.
term to get done.
Yeah,
That's why I'm using it
It's
now.
that is time.
That's why I'm using it now. Are you not entertained is one of the best quotes. I could still see the meme. It was everywhere there for a while.
Yeah,
And of course not in 2000, but just
No,
some years ago.
because we didn't have memes in 2000.
Yeah. So between that and I got a lot of vibes from this. I'm not saying that they took it from Gladiator, but you did have the Game of Thrones. You did have the Dead Family Punisher. I mean, just there was constantly stuff, and then of course Gladiator itself. I kind of get like the Troy vibes and stuff like that. Alexander, all of those movies.
Historical,
you know,
historical.
yeah,
pieces,
a very 300 light. You know, not really, but all of those movies can. But I think that this movie is still not quite for me, and I think that this movie is more of like a 6.5. It's a little too long. I'll give it the credit I think that it deserves, which is a 6.5. But what did we say? The beginning scene was to me confusing and a lot, a little bit too long. Also, they just like set dogs free at some point, and the dogs just knew who the enemies were.
Yeah.
Like
it was really spectacle for spectacle's sake.
Yeah.
That dog almost gets hit by that horse, and I was getting really nervous about that dog. You know.
That horse. I would have slain that horse myself. Anyways, but after that scene, it was pretty okay. So yeah, 6.5 for me.
So real quick,
Yep.
which is a better movie? And I'm saying not like
Here
in
we
your
go.
opinion. I mean truthfully, just critically.
Okay.
Gladiator or Never Back Down.
Never back down.
Hell yeah.
Is it a question? I'm still waiting for it.
Price, go ahead.
The biggest knock on this is that it is too damn long. If a movie is to 2.5 hours long, there has to be something really special that the movie does, in my opinion. I get that everybody's gonna say like the production, the dialogue was good, stuff like that, but I didn't think the dialogue was that good. Like if it's gonna be 2.5 hours long, to me the dialogue has to be
Quentin
like
Tarantino.
Quentin Tarantino good to keep my attention that long, because that's what I personally want from movies. Nathan is more of a spectacle guy. I respect that. That's totally fine. I am way more of a character-driven guy, and the dialogue between the characters wasn't good enough to merit the runtime, in my opinion. But I really did appreciate the production on it. Was awesome. The acting was fine. Obviously, Joaquin Phoenix stole the show, as he always does. Russell Crowe I haven't seen many Russell Crowe movies, to be perfectly honest, but I imagine this is his best. I'd love to be proven wrong, but
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I'm not too sure. A lot of leaps in logic are made, especially the Quintus thing is the biggest one for me at the end. He is very much the Mac of this scenario. He likes to play both sides so he can always come out on top.
Yeah.
Because he just basically feels where the pulse is and then kind of goes with it. But that's never really seen from him because he's not really given a characterization. And to me, he's really important to this movie because if he gave Caesar Jr. a sword at the end, Russell Crowe would have been dead sooner, and he wouldn't have had to
I
make
think
that
Russell still
proclamation.
takes him, but
And if you wouldn't have like turned on Russell at the beginning as
then-
well.
Oh, yeah.
Well, none of this whole movie.
Because
happens.
then Russell Crowe could have told one other person, like, hey, this is what Caesar
Right.
Sr. wanted. And then at that point, the secret's out. But they made a lot of really good points that it really is neat to see the villain working behind the scenes, too. Because the heroes make a move, and then the villain's going to make a move. Of course it is. It's just those scenes took too long where they're negotiating and talking. Those took too long, in my opinion. So this movie's still good. I enjoyed it. I won't be watching it again, which is why I can't get to that 7 category, and I'm going to go 6.5 because it still is too long. It's heavy, in my opinion, and it's just something I really can't foresee myself watching again.
This movie may be Price's highest rated movie this season with a 6.5.
This season has been so much better than last.
Yeah.
Which
Bryce
I'm
wants
sure
to sit
we'll
there and
talk
do
about.
this with Nathan. But
I should have done that. Good point.
Yeah, I mean it actually. No, I was strongly considering this for a 10. To be honest.
Yeah.
Lego Batman.
Mm-hmm. It's a fucking great
I'm
movie.
wild card now.
Yeah.
You never know where I'm gonna go.
He's just spinning a revolver with one bullet. That's his course.
Russian
Yeah, I
roulette.
mean this movie knocks it out of the park. I think like it's got a hero that you really root
Rooting
for,
yeah.
and it's got a villain that you absolutely want to see fall. And it's set in the backdrop of gladiatorial Colosseum games, Roman culture, Roman military. It's like there's so much happening on the screen that is very spectacle, but also just very like historically cool. And I think that's a lot of why I really like this movie and like a lot of these kinds of movies. Like, I don't think I gave Kingdom of Heaven a
I'm
super
gonna look
high
right
rating.
now.
I was about to say.
I knew you were.
But
It's a comparable
like
score.
there's a lot of that sort of stuff where I like historical pieces.
Give it a 6.
I like
Ooh.
just that being
That's fair.
like
Yeah.
getting to kind of like be in the shoes of the past and like actually kind of get some facsimile of like a realistic perspective of what life could have been like back then to like really understand ancient cultures more as people. And I think this does a really good job of telling a strong story that feels grounded and real within that era of human history.
That was an entertainment special. Going to see people die. That's the
Yeah.
most crazy thing for me to think that that Coliseum probably sat 3,000 people, maybe 10,000 tops. I don't know, but that was a thing. Whereas you have some
Now we only
movies-
watch football.
Well, I was
Bull
gonna say
Yeah.
now these days we're building coliseums to people like losing their minds through concussions.
Yeah.
so,
It's true.
Concussions
it's-
are all-time high now.
And MMA, like that kind of
Yeah,
stuff. Too.
yeah, right.
That's
Literal
what it is,
cages.
yeah.
So it's like, how far have we really evolved as a
Yeah,
culture?
it's like we try and act like we're much more civil, but we've only just drawn the line a little bit further this
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
But
What's your
yeah.
score though?
So score-wise, I'm not gonna
That's a
quite
0.5.
hit a 10. I'll probably give it like a 9.5.
Yeah.
Dang.
Damn. Good for you. Bring that point average it up. It deserves it. I'm gonna put this one. You guys do 6.5, so we got a 9.5. So yeah, that makes about sense. I'm gonna slam this movie right at a strong. Does it deserve a 0.5 for me? You know what? Yeah, the extended cut fucking slaps. 8.5. I watched 3 hours of this movie pretty much recently, and I will say, most of all, I enjoyed most of it. There are a couple scenes that do, in fact, drag too long. There's some characters that I'm like, the sister, I sit there and say, if you cut her entirely from the movie, do I miss too much of this movie? But some of the stuff that they added in really fleshed out characters, to Price's credit, saying like, oh, Quintus makes a lot more sense in context now at the end with just this one very good scene that they add into it, and a couple, I think, of little comments they maybe add into it. Adding in about like the selling of the rice grains for 2 years and stuff like that just really adds to the atmosphere. This movie does a great job of building the world, and it lets you really leap into it, and it lets you embellish in the culture. And I think it shows well, its actions well, it entertains well. Is the dialogue particularly great? No, there's a couple banger lines and stuff here and there. But I think overall this is an action movie leading with more of its action, and the parts that even aren't action are political action in itself. And I thought that they did a good job of keeping that tempo throughout most of the time. For me, in my viewing experience, even in a 3-hour watch, and you gotta be really entertaining for a 3-hour watch to make sense, most of the tempo felt good. There wasn't a lot of times I felt like I was mentally checking out or being like, oh my god, we're just doing Roman stuff now for no reason. Most of the characters are pretty sweet too. Like Joaquin Phoenix, sweet. Quintus kind of plays into the end with the scenes that we get in our extended cut. Proximo's sweet. He fucking gets murdered to death by the guard shortly before the whole world kind of gets saved. Maximus is awesome. Dijon's awesome. The German buddy of theirs, that third trio dude, he eats with the soup or whatever.
Yeah.
He like fake gargles that or whatever. Like he's just fun. So everybody, there's a lot of characters that you get a chance just in times to shine that I was just like, wow, no, this is just performed very well. It's not a perfect movie, definitely not. There's some critiques at the beginning, shooting on the battles and stuff like that. But no, I find this movie very enjoyable and worth its caliber for it wearing 22 years of age on it, especially as well. So without further ado, guys, let's see. We gotta see what the critics and everybody else
That's
thought.
your job.
I'm also
We gotta see
curious
what
to
the
see
crowd-
what happens after that because I think I missed the conversation.
No. I think I know how to cue us on this one. So, 2000s history drama, Gladiator, got a 79% on Rotten Tomatoes on the critic side of things. 87%.
Much like Oh Brother.
Yeah, it
similar
is.
vibe on that. 87% on audience scores, which makes sense. This is if you're in 2000s, video games and a lot of like modern technology hasn't advanced so far, and you want a movie that's going to take your way your whole night, Gladiator fucking does this.
It does.
So good job, the Gladiator.
It does take your night.
Yeah, bro, you didn't even watch this back to back.
Just like a stranger in the window would.
Yeah. Oh boy. Who are you today?
I'm backwards hat man now.
So,
Stranger in the window.
normally we would spin a little wheel. Now the thing is that
Shock me, Daddy. I don't know.
the thing is we spun all our wheel slices.
we ran out of pizza, didn't we, boys?
Yeah, we ran out of pizza. So welcome to the end of the season, guys. We're ending and wrapping with Gladiator. This is not going to be the final video. I think Bryce wants to try to do a bracket, but I don't think we're ready for it yet.
I don't think we are.
We're pretty close. I mean,
We need
this
64.
is 14 movies that we did this.
How many movies are we at total?
14.
14.
Total for...
Can we do a bracket?
No, I mean not for this season, but like
Total,
since last
total?
We'll talk about this off air.
100
Yeah,
We
so
can't do this
the
now.
point is we've probably come up with an extracurricular video to sit there and wrap the
168
season and that one. Well, no, I'm talking about that are valid for.
Oh, give me 14 different stipulations. What do you
Give me
want?
this. I'll do this.
Okay, so
Dylan,
since the bracket,
Dylan,
what is
keep
the
talking.
new poll of movies?
Keep talking. I got it.
Goodness. Anyway, so maybe a bracket, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we'll just do a
Easy
video of
ones,
us
I
farting
assume.
for 5 hours. Who knows? So, but anyway, this is the end of the season. Stay tuned for whatever season wrap up that we do, and then we will be reloading that wheel probably on that next episode with all new videos, all new fun. Are we gonna add new rules in? Maybe. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, if you like the content we keep doing, make sure to hit the bell. Comment below if you think that this movie's too long or you wanted more out of it. Me and Nathan seem to be totally fine with more. In fact, we probably could do even more of it. Make it through 20. Add some more Quintus scenes.
Make it a trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
There's been a lot of talks about Gladiator 2.
Gladiators
Yeah.
could be the next one.
There's been several talks about Gladiator 2, and I'm just like, how?
Yeah, I wouldn't want that because
Don't do that. Don't
Russell
mess it up.
Crowe's got the reins now.
Right, and Russell Crowe's... Well, yeah, anyway, I don't know. See you guys in Valhalla, yada yada. We will see you on next episode. Bye, guys.
Bye.
And girls, and they and thems, and everybody else in between.